Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the webinar for the Certificate in Product Management. My name is Monique Singleton. I am the Associate Director of Enrollment Management here at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. It is 12 o'clock or 12:01. I want to give it a few more minutes to allow some of our other attendees to join the webinar today. But while we're waiting, I want to do a poll for you all so we can see who's here today, who's interested in our certificate in product management. So while we wait for more attendees to join us today, go ahead and answer this poll while we wait. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. It looks like it's a few minutes after 4. Thank you all so much again for joining us for the webinar for Certificate in Product Management. Before we get started, there is a chat bar on the right side, and I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. So if you can take the time to just indicate yes, that you can hear me clearly, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, great. I'm getting yes, I can hear, yes, I can hear, perfect. Okay, well, let's get started. So my name is Monique Singleton. I am the Associate Director of Enrollment Management here at the School of Continuing Studies, Georgetown University. We will be going over the information for the Certificate in Product Management. I am joined today with our subject matter expert, Craig Butler. He will be going over a lot of the information about the certificate program, what it entails, and we'll definitely be answering any questions that you all have along the way. So feel free to use the chat bar on the right side. But before we begin, let me open up our poll to see who we have with us today. Okay, so it looks like we have a good amount have shown today, about 13% say that they're interested in the product management certificate because they've been in the industry for some time. 38%, which is the majority, are career changers. 25% say I have always been interested in this subject matter. 13% my employer suggested this program, and then 13% others. So hopefully during this hour, we will have time to figure out who those others are, because I'd love to know what makes you most interested in the product management certificate program. So let me go ahead and share this screen so we can get started with our presentation. Okay, perfect. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Craig Butler. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. If there's anything that I can answer as the Associate Director of Enrollment, I will answer them along the way. And then if there are any specific questions for the subject matter expert, we will answer those at the end. So without further ado, Craig, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Craig. My name is Craig Butler. I'm with a company called Ad Hoc. We're a federal contractor that specializes in federal health projects for the federal government at various agencies. We handle a lot of the front-end work for healthcare.gov and for the va.gov, and as well as several other projects around the federal government. And I am a DevOps and infrastructure software engineer specialist, and I will be handling the part of the program that goes over specifically how to work with and manage engineers on completing projects for product management. So Monique, let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. All right, so first of all, why are we even teaching this class? The first reason, the main reason, is that product managers are in high demand right now. Most software has moved to a subscription-based or web application-based model that works much better with the product management philosophy than the older project management-based philosophy. It's kind of the difference between making a book and making a newspaper, right? A project is something that's happens one time and then it's done. Like you write a book and you publish the book and it's finished. Whereas product management is more like running a newspaper. It comes out every day. It's never ending. It's always has to have new content and always has to get out on time. So that's kind of what product management is. And that philosophy and that discipline is in high demand in the software engineering field these days, especially in Washington, where many federal agencies are putting up new web applications all the time that give citizens an unprecedented level of access to their own data and federal data and government services of all kinds. So right now, this is a great time to get into product management if you're not already in it. And if you are in it, it's time to keep looking for opportunities, because there are a lot of great opportunities out there. And I would love if whoever was the person that put other in their reason for being here could put that in the chat so we could address that issue specifically, because I'd love to know why else you might be here. Georgetown University, of course, has an impeccable reputation. They do a lot of original research, especially in technology and blockchain. They are recently ranked #6 in blockchain research, and of course have a lot of government and social program specialties. And so it's a great place to do that. It's also a great place to make connections. The three of us instructors have all worked with the U.S. Digital Service. We in various capacities. We come from private sector firms like Boston Consulting Group and Ad Hoc, where I'm from, as well as the ACLU. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of insight, and we can help you figure out some career options for yourself if you are interested in pursuing product management further. And not only that, we can speak from experience and share stories of the fun that we've had and the challenges that we've had in dealing with product management, both in the private sector and in the public sector. And finally, Georgetown University has a lot of resources, a lot of instructional resources, a lot of ability to have excellent tools at our disposal. And this course is going to make great use of all of those. So the primary objective of this is to be both an introduction to people who are new to product management, but also to educate those who have some exposure to it. The first thing we'll do is really dive into the differentiation between project management and product management. As I mentioned with the book and newspaper example, a project is something that happens one time, and a product is something that happens all the time. It's kind of the difference between building a bridge from scratch versus adding a lane to the bridge while everyone has to still be using it all the time. That's the kind of life that we live in product management. Is we create the software products for the public or for private companies, and they have to start working as soon as possible, and they have to stay working while we continue to maintain and improve them. And then we'll also go into, as I mentioned, the concepts of human-centered design. How do we design things for people to use? Agile and Kanban, which are project management or product management strategies of how we actually manage the teams that do this work. The product manager's role being to kind of define the direction and purpose of the product, but there's a management aspect there too of how do we actually help facilitate the team to get that work done. And then finally some DevOps concepts where I will go over a little bit of more detail how the software actually works, how you work best with software teams, and the ins and outs of all of that. We'll talk about minimum viable products and what that means. You'll hear this term a lot in product management these days. And the idea behind that is we don't wait until the product is 100% perfectly done, because it's never going to be perfectly 100% done, because we're always going to be able to improve it. We're always going to be able to add to it. So we have this concept of minimum viable product, where the idea is get the product out, get the product working, and then iterate on it and continue to improve it all the time. As I mentioned before, kind of how to lead digital product teams to conduct discovery sprints and user research. This is all about how do we figure out what the product actually should be, what do people want, what is in demand for this kind of product. Rapid prototyping is another key concept in this, which is, once we have an idea of what we want to build, can we quickly build a prototype of it to make sure that it's going to work, then make sure that it's going to have the look and feel that we need, make sure that we can access the kind of data that we want to access, and so on. Continuous deployment and integration is a DevOps concept that I'll be going over, which is how do we write code and then get that code out into production as fast as we can, because we don't want to be doing the old-fashioned model of spending years writing code and then it all goes out at once. We put new code out every day. Every day, every developer can be adding to our product and improving it continuously. And that's the whole DevOps model that I'll be going over. And then, of course, how to measure and report the product outcomes. You know, nothing that you do to improve your product will matter if you can't explain it or prove it to anyone that you're actually reaching the audience that you need to reach and that they're getting the value out of it that they need to get out of it. So to go over the program structure a little bit more, as I mentioned, the first module will be taught by Kelly, and that'll be the Introduction to Product Management. She'll go over all the basic concepts of what product management is, how it's different from project management, and answer any questions that you might have on just the general concept and philosophy of what is product management, why is this thing so popular these days, and why does it apply so well specifically to software development. And then in module 2, Gina will talk to you about user experience and human-centered design, and we'll learn about how do we design a product, how do we research what people need, what people want, and then how do we design a product around them that will deliver the value that they need. And then finally in module 3, I will take over and I will talk about the actual process of creating software, the actual process of managing software teams, and share some of my stories, both good stories and horror stories about how things can go really well and how things can go really badly and what you do when things go really wrong. All right, so the program completion requirements is all 3 of these modules. Each module will be 2 days. They'll all be on Saturdays, so it's 6 consecutive Saturdays from October 19th to November 23rd. Each of these modules will be 2 of those Saturdays, so there'll be 2 introduction courses, 2 user experience and design courses, and 2 technical development courses. And so to get to the certificate is to complete all 6 of those. And in between those courses, since they're all on Saturdays, we'll also be able to collaborate through some of Georgetown's online tools. So there will be a forum that you can go to online and talk to your fellow students and us instructors, share ideas, share questions, get answers, and collaborate on student projects, which there will be an overall project from beginning to end of this course, a small group project where you'll be designing a product doing the research on what needs to be in the product, and then actually building that product. It's not going to be heavy duty software design or anything. It's just going to be a fun little product that everyone can get involved in and help design.
How to register. So this is open enrollment, as I mentioned before, so there's no application required. You do have to have a bachelor's degree or an equivalent. If you do not have a bachelor's degree, this is one of the questions that we get pretty often, there is a statement of purpose form that you can complete and turn that into there's an email on the form, but you would turn that in for review, and if you are approved for that, then you may go ahead and register for the courses for product management. You would visit this website, and there is a register now link on the left side. So course registration is complete once your payment is processed. So it's a very simple process. You add the course to your cart, you purchase, and then you are ready to go. So now we will go ahead and open it up for any questions that you all may have. Feel free to use the questions bar on the right side. You can also take a look at our website while we're going over any of the questions, in case you want to, take a look at the course details, objectives, or ask Craig or myself any questions. So our first question, let's see. How, if at all, does product management relate to public relations? Public relations, communications, or marketing, that field. I was considering a digital media certificate and project management. Then I saw this and I was wondering if it was relevant or interesting.
Yeah, I can answer that. So it's very highly related because the internet is one of the primary ways now that agencies and companies communicate with their customers. And so there's, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but there's a lot that goes into, there's a phrase that someone has told me lately, which is that implementation is policy, right? Like how the government actually delivers its services is what really matters to people. And conversely, how people have access and how much access they have to those services is their interaction with their government or with a company, right? So public relations is sort of the social science of how does an organization relate to the outside world and to the people that it wants to serve. And product management is kind of the answer in the form of this is how we use technology to serve those people that we want to serve in our communities. So it's kind of the practical approach to how do we take the thing that we do and how do we get it to the people who need it, and how do we find out what it is that they want so that we can design products that work for them and that give them the things that they need.
Okay, another question. How does this relate to systems engineering?
Okay, so I can answer that. So this course and product management in general is sort of the why of why we engineer what systems we engineer. The technical portion of the class that I'll be going over, DevOps, will be the most closely related to systems engineering in the sense of this is how we actually plan and build and work with teams to create the systems that we use. I have a extensive background as a systems administrator and a network administrator. I've been doing technical system administration and engineering and architecture for my entire career. So I can talk in depth about those topics, and especially how those topics relate to the products that we're creating today, which are mostly web application based software, and how we design, deliver, construct, architect, and engineer those systems to meet the requirements that have been delivered to us by the human experience researchers and the human-centered design philosophies of what are we trying to deliver and to who are we trying to deliver it, and what's the best way to architecture a system that can serve those needs.
Wonderful. Okay. Do we have any other questions or concerns, anything else that anyone would like to ask while we have Craig on the line? Any subject matter expert questions? Of course, once this is over, if you do have any additional questions, we will be happy to answer those. You can send us an email or give us a call. The information is on the PowerPoint presentation. So if you think of anything, I know it usually pops up once the webinar is over. If you think of anything once it's over, definitely feel free to give us a call. Okay, if you have any subject matter expert questions in the enrollment team, we will be happy to connect you with an instructor or with a subject matter expert to answer your question if it's something a little more specific. But yeah, so if you don't have any further questions, we will look forward to seeing you this October in about how many weeks? 2 at this point? And yeah, in no time. But thank you all so much for joining us today for the webinar. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yep, thank you very much, everyone.